And we're live on YouTube today. Welcome, my friends and gems, to Love and Money Secrets TV. And I'm your host, Dame Lillian Walker. And I'm so happy and excited to have with me a beautiful soul sister, Christine Genovese. She is the founder, the creator, the genius who has put together the Soul IQ Method. And if you're wearing socks, I hope you are, because she is going to knock them right off your feet. Because wait till you learn about Soul IQ and how it can benefit you. Christine, how are you?
Oh, Dame Lillian, I'm so happy to be here. I'm doing so much better for anybody that was like, hey, what do you mean you're not going live last week? So, yeah, I'm definitely on the mend for sure.
Oh my gosh. And you're radiating and glowing every time I see you. You are just, of course, because you have this divine auric energy about you that is just so, anybody that gets the opportunity to meet her in person, let alone online, oh my goodness, if you get a chance to get in front of her at one of her live events. I was graced with meeting her first online and then saw her in person in Los Angeles. And let's just say that she will exceed your expectations. Christine, you have this spectacular journey that you have
Yeah.
been on, and now you are gifting the world with this precious, it really is a precious jewel that you have here. Tell us, first of all, before you dive into the method, how did this come about?
Well, I think everybody kind of remembers, having their own probably awakening of some sorts back in March of 2020, perhaps. That's at least when it happened for me. I had been like in the spiritual closet for a long time, hiding, right? Lurking, doing it behind closed doors. But most of my career, I've been a corporate turnaround specialist, figuring out people, process, technology, what needed to move, what energy needed to flow so that the business could actually achieve the outcomes. So I'd kind of had this idea of, the importance of energy and flow and alignment a long time ago. But to actually bring forth the work known as the Soul Intelligence Method, I did that, pretty big time, starting in about 2021, where I really started to introduce it through coaching, actually. So I kind of cracked the door open a little bit, kind of snuck it in to my coaching programs. But I had learned how to use like a book of charts and a pendulum, which is essentially what the method is. A number of years ago, there was a method called spiritual response therapy, and it was developed by a Baptist minister. But the method really felt kind of very stiff, very religious, very constricted. So I knew conceptually about using a book of charts and a pendulum from that. And then from that, I really was inspired in March of 2020. Now, why all of a sudden March of 2020? Well, the divine plucked me out of corporate America and said, okay, you're done with that in March of 2020. And so I had a good 7 months to figure out, what do I really want to do with my life? I remember having this great meditation where I just went within and I listened and I just had tears streaming down my face. And I knew I couldn't go back into corporate America anymore, that I actually had to bring this work forth in the world. And I started to get the downloads. I started to get the charts. And so that's essentially how it started. But I guess I should talk about what is soul intelligence to begin with, right? I'm kind of
Please,
speaking
yeah,
up and I hope
please.
everybody knows.
Yeah, please reveal to us what soul intelligence is.
So the way I describe it is, you kind of have your IQ, right? That's where everything starts, right? The idea, the intuition, the spark in the electromagnetic part of the field. Then we have our EQ, right? How we say what we say, our emotional intelligence. That's really important, right? And in fact, if you study the Heart Math Institute, they've actually measured around your heart is a 6 foot wide energy field, whereas around your brain is only a 2 foot wide. And think about how much time we spend like strategizing, thinking, figuring all that up here, right? When our heart is so much more powerful. Well, the heart is the magnetic part of the electromagnetic field, which magnifies things and bring things into you.
Mhm.
So you need both of those parts, but soul intelligence is really when you are absolutely in alignment with your mission, your vision, your values, and your purpose, and you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself. When the best version of you is coming forth and leading. When you can live and love and lead from that place, that's really what soul intelligence is. And in order to be able to lead from that place, we often have to go through a lot of trials and tribulations, and we have energy that gets stuck and pools in our mental body, our emotional body, and our physical body. Because as you know, we rewind the clock to maybe like, I don't know, third grade science class, perhaps. We remember that we were all protons, neutrons, electrons, right? So we all have this electromagnetic field around us, right? That's what we're comprised of. So everybody and everything is energy. I mean, that's the only way I'm coming to you across the country via the internet. I can't see it, but I know it exists, right? Just like a radio frequency. We know it's there, but we can't see it. We know it exists. Everything and everybody is energy. Everything is frequency and energy. And that is really, I think, the future of medicine, where it's going is energy, frequency, and light. And so I feel like, we're right in alignment with how to heal yourself naturally. And soul intelligence is one of those ways to help bring things that are stuck within your physical, mental, or emotional body up and out without having to relive the trauma that caused it in the first place.
So it's beautiful what you said, because you mentioned that when you have your mission, your vision, your purpose, and values all in alignment, that then you can be basically the fullest expression of yourself, because now you you said that only 10, it's like 10% of the energetic electricity radiates out from the head, but from the heart, it's, triple that, much greater. So when you have that alignment, then you can really fully expand, and then you can really create and manifest, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's, it was really interesting. I was at a retreat recently called the Law of Attraction Retreat, where we actually talked to Dr. Joe Vitale, who was part of The Secret, the movie The Secret. And they asked him, so what was missing from The Secret? He goes, well, first of all, everybody just thought all you had to do was say something and then sit around and wait for it to happen. And that's not how it works, right? And I said, yeah, but Neville Goddard said feeling is the secret, and that's the truth, right? So when I said, right, I know. So the electromagnetic spark, right, is the idea, the inspiration that, has to start up here. That is the electric part, but the magnification part, what brings things into you, is the feeling. And it's not just the feeling, it's the energy and the vibration of as if it's already happened. So I have a tool that I give to some of my clients, which allows you to actually brainwash yourself for good. Okay. I think we all learned in 2020 how to brainwash ourselves for bad. So let me tell you how this works. Okay. How you can actually manifest quicker and how this works. So the first thing you do is you have to isolate yourself. Okay. That's the first part of brainwashing. Then you control the messaging. Then you repeat the messaging, and then you reward with fear or love. So when you're trying to do this for good, okay, you do have to get quiet. You have to isolate yourself and shut down all your distractions, okay, and get yourself into a nice quiet place. Then you need to control the messaging. So who do you want to be? Who do you want to be with? What are the experiences you're having? Like, where are you going? Like, what are you feeling? Like, all of those things, as if it's already happened, and filled with gratitude about it already having happened and what amazing things you're doing. And you do that not only through a journaling or visualization, but you're doing that steeping in that energy and that feeling, and then you repeat it. And typically the best times to do that are right when you're waking up and right when you're going to sleep, right? Because that's when our subconscious mind kicks in. Because the trick of brainwashing is that's where most of stuff happens. That's where all of our emotions go. The conscious mind is only 5% of our brain activity, right? 95% of what's going on with us is the subconscious, right? And it's really hard. So we got to use 5% of the mind to control 95% of the activity, which is, how do you do that? And so this is one way to do it. And I call it using my sacred soul script. So it's about putting your goals down and then writing them as if they've already happened, spending time in that energy. And I got to tell you, I am living proof that this stuff works, because I am seriously caught up in the highest frequency of energy with everything that's going on with soul intelligence. Truly, since I think I met you, I think you were really the catalyst to put me on this amazing next phase of my journey.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I just told you before we went on air, I was like, oh my gosh, I kind of feel like you've gone in this vortexual, like hurricane tornado thing that's kind of like catapulting you up. And it's like you're just going vroom, and you just keep on expanding and going up and up and up, and you're just glowing. And so I could, even though we haven't had much time to talk since we met, in Los Angeles. And so it's very kind of fascinating to watch you just continue to expand and expand and expand. And so it works.
It does
And
if
you
you
put
do
the
it.
intention to actually follow the 4 steps and do it, and it's working for you. So I got to tell you, when you and we met, and then I booked that soul session with you, I was very intrigued. And during the talk that you did in Los Angeles, and I was really looking forward. There are only a handful of people that I selected that it's like, okay, I knew I was a speaker there, but I wanted to make sure that there were certain people, and you were like at the top of my list. And I made a very concerted effort to connect with you prior to and then attend your talk. And I was kind of blown. I was not kind of, let's I was like at the edge of my seat. And my intention was to not only stay for the entire thing, but also linger after and pick your brain out about 1,000 things, because as you were unfolding before us what it was that you did and how you did it and the effects, and you showed the testimonials. Oh my goodness, the testimonials, which I hope you'll share at least 1 or 2 of them here. It was really astonishing to see the before and after. And
Mm.
so, of course, I think the last 15 minutes of your presentation, I was whisked away. I was like begrudgingly, I'm like, no, I can't go. And so I did miss a portion of that. But like I said, then when we sat down for our session, it was like, oh my goodness. But I gotta tell people, it is the most I'm gonna say heartwarming, but I think people will hear chicken when I say heartwarming. Yeah, it's like a Hallmark card, so cheesy. But I gotta tell you, it was kind of like a warm bath, very relaxed, very comfortable, not threatening at all, just very at home, and kind of like if your grandma or grandpa, when you're little, like 3, 4 years old, says, "Oh, come on over here, let me put you on." You wouldn't even think twice about being put on your grandmother's lap or your grandfather's lap, and they're just kind of coddling you, and they're kissing the top of your head, the top of your forehead, and just showering love on you. And then there isn't anything that you can say that is going to upset them. They're just like they're there. And that it was that kind of sense, even those were not the words. And you just continue to very gently like ask these very poignant questions that were revealing things, I'm sure, to you in real time.
Mhm.
And it was bringing my awareness to things that I hadn't thought about ever, or if not, I hadn't thought or felt about in a very long time. So it was a very gentle, uh, revelatory process. And then I was very intrigued how you had your report book, if you will, and
Mhm.
as you went through this very methodical and very thorough. It really felt like a top to bottom, like through every layer, going into the past, present, and future somehow simultaneously. And so my attention was like kind of what was going on with me. So I couldn't look at it forensically from like a third party
Sure.
observer to see how is she doing that? Because I wanted to get the full benefit as someone that you were doing this in. So I just stayed there in that place. And then things continued to unfold. And then you would ask questions, and then you would get the yay or nay from the pendulum. The pendulum never lies. Energy, it's not bound by your ego or your left
No.
brain, goodness. And so it tells you the real answer every single time, especially once you calibrate it. So share with our listeners a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I mean, the premise is, if we think about emotion itself, right? We talked about how powerful emotions are and how it starts right in the heart. So, emotion is supposed to be energy in motion, right? When energy is not in motion, that's when it pools or it gets stuck within the body, right? And you have dis-ease within the body or dysfunction within the body or a dissonance in your frequency. It's kind of like a broken radio signal.
Mhm.
And so when we dive deep and we figure out, oh, what's that root cause of somebody's illness? So, for example, somebody's back goes out, right? That means their whole world is coming out from underneath them, right? A lot of times, financial stress is what we hold in our root chakra or at the base of our spine.
Mhm.
So everything that affects us, affects the physical body, first is really coming in and attacking the emotional body, the energetic body. But because we feel the physical body, we are so corporal, we usually start with what's going on physically. And as I shared with you, I work with a lot of doctors. As a matter of fact, that was one of the first places I went when I discovered, okay, I have this method. I sent an email to my doctor, who is in functional medicine. She's an MD, but she's also a big naturopath as well. And I said, okay, I know you know me as this crazy adrenaline plane hopping junkie, okay? But I have this other side to me, and I have this method, and it can help lift stuck trauma, emotions, self-limiting beliefs, all kinds of patterns, archetypes, things that get us caught and stuck. And I can lift them up and out of the body. And I said, I know your schedule's incredibly busy. I will just come down and sit in your office and wait till you're available. And she's like, absolutely. I was like, okay. So I
Wow.
went down. I know, right? I went down, and one of her colleagues had 3 cancellations. She never has cancellations, and she had 3 in a row. So of course, divine intervention allowed me to do some work on her. So as I was doing the session for her, she had just started to cry. She was releasing. I call it holy water. Okay, so sometimes, right, we need to let it out. So it's great. She was crying. She kicked her water across the floor, which again is like an emotional release anytime liquid's flowing,
Yes.
right? And that right at that moment, my doctor peeked her head in and went, how's it going? And then she goes, oh my gosh, okay, I'm next. Pick me. So it was kind of game on from there. And then they started referring clients to me, because if you think about it, all of what I'm sharing is based on the field of bioenergetics. And that has been a science that's been around since the 1950s, right? And it's the correlation between your physical well-being and your mental and emotional well-being,
Okay.
right? So all 3 of those things have to be in alignment. That's why if someone hasn't fixed the depression, okay, that they're going through, right? Maybe we fix what's physically wrong, but they're still depressed. Something else typically goes wrong in the body. And about 90% of the conditions that people go to doctors for today are chronic conditions. They won't heal, right? So it's like this repetitive cycle. And that's because we're not giving, right, the body any new information to change, which is one of the reasons I love the LifeWave stem cell patches, right? Because that's helping to give the body new
Added
information.
frequency.
Yes, and changing the frequency. So I do believe, that there are ways for us to upregulate or downregulate, what's
Yes.
going in our bodies, right? Dr. Joe Dispenza, I love him, adore him, right? He talks about the power of meditation and how that actually can upregulate cells, and change your, what's going on internally, to help permanently shift things. And so one of the things that my method does is it creates basically an intervention and provides new information. So you consciously recognize what's coming up and what we're releasing. So whether it's mental, emotional, physical, whether it's an old pattern, whether it's a destructive, self-limiting belief, like you grew up, never feeling like you were good enough. That's a big one for people, right?
I'm ready.
So a lack of, feeling good enough or a lack of worthiness is going to block, your best and highest good and what you really want to manifest if you don't believe it. And so having to, a belief is basically repetitive thoughts, right? And so then you start seeing the world through this cloudy lens. So we're able to help bring awareness to that and to shift those things. So doctors are always telling me, their patients walk in and, they're always telling them everything that's going on in their lives. It's not just about the physical ailment that's wrong, right? It's like what's
Always
going on at
boundaries.
home, work, right? Yeah, I know. So everybody's always like, yeah, my clients are a hot mess. I'm like, well, the truth is everybody is a hot mess because we're human, right? We are emotional beings. And it's really interesting having grown up in corporate America where it was all male dominated, right? It was like no emotion. There's no crying in baseball. There's no getting emotional at work, which is hilarious because that's who we are. you know,
Yeah, and actually it's not that there's no emotion, they're just not allowed
to
to.
show it.
So meanwhile, you have this volcano with all this energy that's being suppressed and pushed down, and that balloon keeps getting more tense, and the energy keeps building up. It's got to go somewhere, right? So
Absolutely.
that's why some people at some point they go postal, right?
Absolutely.
They seem like they're cool as a cucumber, but they're like ready to erupt because you can that energy has to go somewhere at some point. So if you don't know how to manage that stress or how to manage that emotion and you don't have an outlet for it, there's very real consequences. There is physical damage to the internal organs where that energy will destroy us. Whatever's the weakest organ or organ system is going to get hammered.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
let me give you an example for myself. Okay. So this past year, I got divorced. Okay. I have a husband. I believe that's the term
that's
I picked up from you. Yep. Love that. But things had gotten really challenging in my marriage over the last, probably the last 5 years. And I wasn't willing to deal with what was going on, right? I was making excuses because he was going through an illness, right? And so I felt guilty. I have to stay, I have to help, until I physically started breaking down. And what I shared with you was I had a glaucomic cyclic crisis. Oh my goodness, what the heck is that? Well, basically what it means is the pressure had built up so much in my eye, okay, that it was like 39, and normal eye pressure is like about 16. Yeah, I know you're wincing, about 16. And what causes glaucoma or blindness is pressure on the eye, right?
super,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so it was really scary when, the eye doctor's like, "Oh my gosh, you got to get the glaucoma specialist on the phone. We got to get her drops." But I'm like, "What? What are you talking about? I just thought I had gotten new contacts and they were blurry." And so I didn't realize it was even going on. So I almost legally blinded myself. So when I looked up, what does it mean? And why is it the left eye? And what's going on? And it basically was, you don't want to see your life the way it is anymore. And someone you love refuses to help themselves or change. Like I couldn't make it up. I could not make it up. It was mind blowing. And I went, okay, it's time for me to do something. I have to change my physical environment because staying in it, trying to do their work and my work was literally taking me down.
And so let's talk about the metaphysics, because your soul IQ intelligence method does help disclose that and
Yeah.
kind of connects the dots so that instead of not like having these presentations and manifestations that are speaking to you, they're telling you something very real about you. And you said eye pressure, and we're thinking EYE. It's in your left eye. We know that the left eye is the personal, the right eye having to do with what you show to the world, the public. This is your left eye. So it's the eye, you said eye pressure. So the pressure inside of you, as in I am, was building up so great. Now, you said the number 39. So 39, if you look at Kabbalistic numerology, number 4 has to do with the home and with stability. Notice how it's a 3 and a 9 about to like blow up your home. I don't know if you realized that before, but see how everything,
So cool.
everything is
so
connected. And the thing is, none of us can figure this all out by ourselves, because if you look at a jar has a label and you are the contents of the jar. So your friends can see the label, your neighbors, the people around you can see your label, but you're the contents in the jar, so you can't see the label. So sometimes you need a friend, you need someone like you that I love that you started off with saying that you did corporate restructuring. You're still doing corporate restructuring. You're helping. Corporate means corpus, means body. So you're helping people restructure the things that are out of sorts so that they can get back into balance again. And so they're the jar, and you're going, oh, okay, let me see what it says here on your label. I know you can't see it, but let me kind of help. Oh, the things that are hidden, let's kind of like things that are not serving you, that are just taking energy instead of building you up. Let's kind of go through and see what we need to clear. Some of these you might be conscious of, but the majority of it you're not going to be conscious of. And
Right.
I know during mine, I'm like, oh my gosh, I had never, some of
How
these
did you know
things.
about that?
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never said this to anyone before. I never even thought to articulate it. It was just kind of like a very long distance program that's been hiding back there like forever. And it just
Mhm.
never would have occurred to me even to express it to anyone. And now it's in the open, and it's like kind of a relief, to be honest with you. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's there. And it's like, okay, now that it's like light was shed on it, now it's like, oh, now it doesn't seem to have whatever that pull was, it's kind of gone. To be honest with you, our brains are so fascinating. The way they work, we tend to things that are kind of sometimes a big deal, we tend to minimize or deny, and
Mhm.
we'll conveniently forget.
Mhm.
Because it's like we'd rather remember the more pleasant things. And so that's why I think it's so valuable to, if for those of you, I know that there's a few eyeballs that are watching this right now. Some of you
Mhm.
are watching this on the replay, and make no mistakes, there are no accidents. There are what I call God incidences. This is a divine appointment. If this is resonating with you, if this is intriguing you, if you feel like a magnetic pull or an attraction to this, and you sound that this is kind of fascinating and interesting, that might be your indicator that you might want to reach out to Christine and say, hey, you know what? I'd like to book a session with you. I'd like to figure this out. And I don't even know, maybe you're not even clear as to what your junk is. You don't need to know what your junk is, but you have something that's not, maybe you have things used to work swimmingly well, and they haven't been working swimmingly well, maybe for some time. That could be 30 days. It could be 30 months. It could be 3, 10, or 15 years. It doesn't matter the time frame. But guess what? One session just like that, you can have this energetic shift, and boom, you can literally start to expand. And it really is this expansion, kind of like a mushroom that's kind of like this thing. It's like a toroidal field. And you owe it to yourself. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose.
Yeah. So, obviously, when we talk about soul intelligence, maybe it would be good for me to just share a moment, a couple, you know, examples of like how we've helped people. I
I
mean,
would
yeah,
love to
would that
hear,
be good?
yes, please do. I would love to
Okay.
hear at least a couple.
Um, so, there's so many different aspects of lives that might improve, after a session. People might not get triggered by the same old stimulus any longer, like physical symptoms will clear up. Um, the mental block that was caused by the self-limiting belief for not being good enough, right, no longer causes the person to push beyond their capacity. Maybe the emotional turmoil caused by an old sexual trauma doesn't hold the person back in fear of moving forward with a partner. There's a lot of different things. Um, so I'm going to give you some examples since I work with a lot of MDs, right? And I work on them as well as their clients and patients.
Mhm.
So one of the medical doctors I was working with was having trouble with their spouse. Um, her husband was always wanting to kind of meddle in the finance and operations of her practice, and she was getting really frustrated and was even considering shutting down her practice so she wouldn't have to deal with it. He was also putting pressure on her to relocate her practice, and she was getting colds and sinus infections. So colds,
Irritation.
right, are mental confusion, and sinus infections are related to being annoyed with someone you're really close to.
Annoyed,
So,
irritated. Mhm.
right, you're irritated with one person.
Mhm.
I did one session for her, and the next morning she texted me that she couldn't believe how different her husband was behaving towards her. And how did I do that? By working with her, right? And she said that that was absolutely incredible. I can't believe how much lighter, clearer, and more confident I felt since the session. And then she was actually able to make a decision on how to operate her business, like in 2 locations. And so that
Oh,
was really kind of
there's
wild,
the
right?
extension that we were talking about just a second ago. That's fantastic. Wow.
Yeah. And so, I also worked with a client who she was a nurse and she was out of work for quite some time. She had shingles, and so her doctor actually referred her to me, right? So shingles, that it's very painful, right? Blooms across the body. So she had actually, like I said, been out of work. And when I say she tried everything, I don't think she tried stem cell patches at the time. I don't think they were
That's
available.
not good.
But okay, I will say, other than that, rule that one out. But other than that, I mean everything like ketamine, microdosing, drugs, just tapping, like pretty much everything you can try, and nothing worked for her until she met me. Okay. And then we did the soul intelligence work. Now, after one session, she wasn't having nightmares anymore. She could actually sleep, which was also something else that was really interesting and fascinating. But when we started to do the deeper dive, I worked with her for quite some time. She had a lot of trauma and difficulty with self-love from not having a close relationship with her mom in particular. It was really childhood. It was really deep. And we were able to help shift this up and out to where the shingles subsided. She finally acknowledged what all this was about, without revealing too much. And she was able to go back to work. She has since gotten a different job, like within the same company. Sometimes it's not possible to leave your job, right? Just
Yeah.
financially, you can't change the environment because normal coaching would say, well, just get a new job. What's the matter with you? You're stressed out. That's why you got shingled.
Imagine.
So yeah, she found a different role within the company, right? That she was finally ready for and open to after doing this work because she was very closed off to doing anything with the company. And she has an incredible relationship with a new man because that was also part of the self-love challenge that she was having because she basically didn't feel worthy of love and other things. And so once we were able to really like dive deep and heal that, the physical symptoms went away, and then each her work life and her personal life opened up, and she was able to function again. So that's like a crate. I mean, that took a little bit of work. That wasn't like, oh, one session and I'm good to go. That took a few months, right? Because she had a lot of deeper set things that were going on that were super, super challenging for her. But I find it interesting. I work with a lot of medical professionals. I'm talking about doctors. I'm talking about nurses. I'm not even talking about their patients yet, right? This was an RN. You would think
They're
you would know
humans
how to
too.
treat it, right? Yeah.
Sometimes they don't have time. They're the worst. They're the worst about putting themselves on the list. They're so busy from sun up to sundown, taking care of that. There really is very little. It's so hard to keep up just with all the the research papers, continuing education, that it's like something has to give. And so they're like, I'm fine, and as long as you just keep focused, we tend to be workaholics in this field. So we
Well,
just kind of
I
keep
get it.
until something happens, you get hit by a bus.
God forbid. God forbid. I know. It
Trying
did
to
happen.
hurt me. I'm like, why is this happening to me? It's like, those things happen. And so, they're humans. We're all humans. And, everybody experiences stress. There isn't anyone. I mean, even the monks, people think it's like, oh, the monks. And I do actually have a few mentors one's a Shaolin monk. And make no mistakes, they get a lot of pressure, and they know how to manage their stress because they do meditation. And is there abuse in the monasteries? Yeah, you would think that there's no abuse. No, there is no place that's devoid of abuse. Humans are humans are humans. Okay. So no one gets off of this earth plane, scot-free, without any trauma, without any stress, without any problems.
No,
It
that's
doesn't
why we
happen.
came here, really. I
That's
mean, I
why
call it Life University, right? Yeah,
it is. It is.
it truly is. And it's kind of like when you start to become a little bit more aware of what's kind of going on, I kind of subscribe to like the 4 levels of consciousness. The first level is life is happening to me, like the victim, villain, hero, the story, we're fighting from the drama,
So true.
and then the next level is like where life is happening for me, where you see everything as an opportunity for learning, right? And growth. The next level after that is life is happening through me. And that is how I feel when I am connected to the divine and I'm doing this work. I really do feel like life is happening through me at that point. And then the last one is where life is happening as me, where you feel a part of one, a part of all. Kind of like you lose yourself at the beach, or when you're up in the mountains, you just kind of almost feel like you dissolve and you feel very connected,
Fun.
right? Yeah. Now we can't stay there very often because we'll go out into traffic and drop right back down to the bottom again. But I try and bounce between life is happening for me and life is happening through me. It's a lot more pleasant.
Yeah.
But even just last week, I had a session with a client who was actually referred to me by a doctor, and she'd been experiencing like this extreme mental anguish as she's going through her change of life. And she doesn't feel like she's herself any longer. She's
Yeah.
looking at the life she's always known and realized that she's put everybody else's needs first. Sound like anybody you know? Like her expectations of her, the role she's been expected to play, from the dutiful wife to the devoted mother to the dedicated daughter, all ahead of her own spirit, her own inner knowing, or as I know it, her soul intelligence, right? Which is screaming at her at this point. And she gave me a comment like after our session, and she said, this has helped me more in one session than all my years of therapy. Like, we made so much progress even just in one session that she wants to continue the work because she felt worlds better. And I mean, there was a lot of holy tears flowing, let me tell you. It's very, very difficult when you wake up one day and you realize I've done this because I was expected to do it, not because I'm called to do it, right? Big difference and really hard, right? Yeah.
And people need to know, and I love that you're sharing that with us, because people think, oh, emotional trauma can't kill you. I'm like, no,
Oh,
make no mistakes. Emotional trauma, unaddressed, can and will kill you.
absolutely.
Coronary heart disease, heart attacks are the leading cause of death in the United States. Used to be that men led the way in heart attacks, and now women, because we've entered the workforce and we're getting stuff done too, and we're wearing multiple hats. We're a mother, we're a daughter, we're a sister, and then we're also CEO of our own businesses, or we're top salesperson or top whatever in whatever industry we're doing. It's like we're being spread out thin. And like this woman that you were talking about, it's like she was meeting these expectations as a wife, as a mother, as volunteer. Make no mistakes, there are women who volunteer 30, 40 hours a week on top of everything else. It's an unpaid full-time job to
Right.
what a lot of these women are doing, and they're managing budgets, they're running the financial statements, they're doing the marketing, they're doing everything that you would do in a corporate job. They're just simply volunteering their time. And of course, there's stress on the body. There needs to be some sort of balance of taking care of yourself.
Well, I know, like in terms of like factors that affect our dis-ease, right? Stress is one of the top ones, right? Toxicity is another one,
Yeah.
right? Our environment, like all of that we're managing, like those toxins.
Causes stress on the body too, cortisol levels. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are the top two factors, right? I mean, genetics do factor in, but very little compared to,
It's not, in the past, they've really pushed, too bad. It's like you've got bad genes, but genetics can be turned on and off. We turn them on and off every day, all the time. So it's
Yep.
not so much your genes, your genetic expression, but really the toxins, not only in our environment, but that we're eating, and then the environment in which you're operating in, and how you're reacting or not reacting to your environment. How often, do you hear doctors say, oh yeah, somebody has idiopathic hypertension? It's like, okay, in English, what does that mean? That means you have high blood pressure. It's coming from stress. An unidentified stressor is causing your blood pressure to rise. It could be a series of factors, the way you're showing up in life and how you're not choosing to move forward with intention. You're reacting to everything all day long, from the time you wake up until you go to sleep. Something's got to give, And so now you come in and you have the Soul IQ session. You've been given permission for an hour and a half or two to just kind of let your hair down and relax. You've invested in yourself, doing something that will clear. It's not just an emotional airy-fairy thing. There are somatic things that are happening with your eyes, your ears, and your senses during this, which is what's clearing out that PTSD. And then because you're relaxed, things are bubbling up, and you're drawing it as the practitioner. You're actually drawing that out, calibrating throughout the process through all these different categories to give the highest and best Soul IQ report card, if you will. So have someone who can literally resolve and dissolve in real time what may have been accumulating there since they were 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. That's
Right.
just building up after experience, after experience, after experience. Thank goodness this woman, in those tears, there
Hmm.
is healing. People don't
Absolutely.
realize to cry, your eyes are designed so that your tears will roll down your cheeks and down into your mouth, so that as they touch your mouth, there are actually enzymes that will help resolve and dissolve whatever it is that you're going through.
Wow.
Yeah,
Very, very cool. Isn't that interesting?
that's why it doesn't usually go down the side. That's why it usually goes down this way.
Interesting. Well, that's why like I said, I call it holy water, right? I feel like it's a release and it's kind of this spring that's coming out to help move what's stuck um within the body. So, that is a good point too. I mean, in terms of a session, what do you need to do? That's the best part. You don't
What
have to do anything. You just get to sit and receive. And as you know, I do this over Zoom primarily, because, there is no energy is energy. So I'm able to tap into someone, whether they're sitting next to me or whether I'm coming through them through Zoom.
This is fantastic. So do you have any events coming up? Do you have any workshops that people can attend? Do you have, anything planned anytime soon that people can tune into?
I do actually, on Wednesday, June 12th at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, I'm going to be doing a free group session. So if you're fascinated by what we've been talking about and you want to check it out, I'm going to do a group session, and that's what Damien was talking about that I did at the conference. So you can actually experience it. And typically what I do is I look at what's kind of going on energetically, either sort of themes that are coming up from my clients for the week or what's going on astrologically, like sort of general energy of what's going on and what we're facing. So I will be doing that on Wednesday, June 12th, at 6 p.m. Eastern. And if you're interested in, that group session, I will be doing that via my Zoom, and you can sign up for that very easily. My Zoom is that name, Christine M. Glein, or you can do Christine-Genovese. Since I have a husband, I am changing my name and my Zoom vanity, but that will still work. You can also, I also want to offer to everybody, your audience in particular, if they're interested in learning more, they can also see my soulintelligencemethod.com/ebook. I'm offering that free to your audience. It's actually available starting this week. Actually, we just submitted, yay, I know, right? To Amazon and all of the places where you get downloadable ebooks. So it'll be up and available by the end of this week. So that was a huge accomplishment for me. If you still want to know a little bit more before reaching out, you can reach me at soulintelligencemethod.com. That's my website. And certainly, if you want to reach me and ask me a few questions, it's just my first name, Christine with a K, at soulintelligencemethod.com. So I'd love the opportunity to share with people exactly what's going on. And if you're interested in joining my live group session, you can email me to get the link, or you can go use my name, Christine-Genovese.com, or ChristineMGlein.com still works.
Okay, well, I absolutely love that. So I can't wait to download your ebook now that it's going to be available this week. And you will have to promise me that you will come back, because I would like to dive in deep and read the book and talk about some of the highlights of the book and encourage people to check it out. So I hope you say yes to that request.
Always, I would be happy to. I'd be happy to.
Yeah. And then last but not least, I'm kind of curious, it's coming to me that possibly there might be some people who might want to adopt this as a tool, as a resource to use in their practice, whether they're a doctor, whether they're a physician's assistant, a chiropractor, or maybe someone who's been doing, maybe clinical hypnosis, or there's so many different modalities that are out there. For people who are in the healing modalities, do you train people to learn this soul intelligence method that you employ?
I actually do. I have a course that's available. It's an evergreen course right now that people can take at any point. If you're really ambitious, you can crank it out in about 3 months. Some people, take up to 6 months to kind of get through it. It depends how quick you pick it up. It's definitely great for coaches or healers or anyone in the medical profession if you're just interested in the healing arts and making a difference. And if you're interested in learning more about that, again, just go to my website, soulintelligencemethod.com, and you'll see a little bit more about the course and the program and how to learn how to be a soul intelligence practitioner. I have about half a dozen people who've gone through my program so far and are certified. And so if my dance card is full, as they say, and I can't work with someone individually, then I do refer out to my practitioners so that they can continue to help people, because sometimes I get flooded with requests and I'm not able to meet them in a timely manner. So I do have an incredible group of people that are already trained that I will refer to.
Fantastic. All right. soulintelligencemethod.com. You guys, any information, whether you want to do the group Zoom, whether you want to book a session with her, whether you want to train and learn more, you want to get the ebook, you saw the graphic. We'll be putting that at the end of the show description. Again, thank you, my friends and gems, for tuning in, tapping and turning on. Christine, you're absolutely divine.
Lillian, my heart to yours.
My
Thank you so
heart
much.
Yes, we are soul sisters from another mister, and I'm so glad that we were able to have you on and share you with the world today. I will be sure. I want to encourage everybody who's watching this. There's probably 1, 2, or 3 people that you're thinking about right now. Oh, this would be so good for so-and-so. Oh, I got to show this. Please don't hesitate. Don't wait. Make sure you like this. Make sure you share. Maybe make sure that you subscribe, of course, to the channel so that you learn more about incredible things like what we've shared here today. And then take that link and share it, text it to your friend right now, and maybe even put it on your social media platforms. Maybe ask how many of you have heard about soul IQ, soul intelligence. I would probably guess that most of them haven't. And I think you might be the doorway into this world where people will learn and discover this. Pretty cool. All right. Ciao for now, my friends and gems. Bye, Christine.
Bye. Thank you.
My pleasure.